I hereby introduce to you Mr. Michael Veazey.
So ladles and jelly spoons, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the show. This is the third part of a rather epic set of podcasts with Aaron O'Sullivan from systemscultureimpact.com. And that's because really we're trying to deal with the rather difficult and yet incredibly productive and important thing of structuring things. And we're not talking about just one sexy little tool or one little tactic, which are, fun and exciting, but this is much more high level stuff. How do you grow a business at different levels of the business? So today we're talking about people who are scaling up from 20, 30 products to 100 plus SKUs or product lines, and people who really, therefore probably scaling up from 6 to 7 figures a month, that sort of level. And we're going to try and tease out from Aaron's brain of all the knowledge that he's been carrying around for years and all the stuff he's done with his clients, exactly, what the main points are that we need to be getting out at this level. So first question then is, what is the difference in approach needed between somebody who's doing 20, 30 SKUs a month or even fewer to get to this kind of level?
Okay, great. So when you're starting out and you go from 20 SKUs and you're looking to really scale up, then it's really about having the revenue driving systems dialed in. When you take an example, if you're selling it on Amazon right now and you've launched a product and then out from nowhere comes a competitor, like Usain Bolt, and they just launch hundreds of SKUs super fast. They get their listings dialed in, they rank, and they get a ton of reviews really quick, and they just overtake and swamp the market. The difference between them and what you've done is they've just got their revenue driving systems dialed in to a much finer degree, and they've found out the few things which really you need to focus on to take it to that next level. So when you think about, in that example of, you launch your products, you've got a couple of products in a certain niche, you've got a few on first page, and then out of nowhere comes this new brand, and they just blast their way up to the top. They've got their kind of systems dialed in terms of how fast they can source and launch products successfully to the top of Amazon, how they can dial in their visibility piece, which is the ranking, but also how fast and how successfully they can dial in their buyability piece, the conversion. So when you have a company who can launch products quickly and basically get them to convert much faster than you, then that's literally what's gonna that's what happens when you see somebody come in. They've got the infrastructure in the place, they've got the tasks which they want to do best. In terms of a business leader, they're doing the things which they do best, and they've got outsourcers doing everything else to help them get to that scale which they're clearly showing. So it's really having them systems dialed in a greater fashion and having the infrastructure in place. So there's going to be some failures, and there's going to be times where, okay, this system's broken or whatever, but they have a team in place and rhythms in place to fix these issues in a much faster way to be able to launch more products. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. I think it's a phenomenon we've all hit and suffer from as the little guys sometimes. But I think, what you're suggesting is to try and be on the other side of that equation. And the reason these guys can do that is because they've dialed in processes. So it becomes less and less about individual products, which is one of the classic obsessions with people who are new to businesses. They do product research, and as opposed to which you're saying, develop a launch process, which includes, the quotes product research and the sourcing piece and the launch piece. But the entire thing has become dialed in, because that makes a hell of a lot of sense. And it's kind of obvious as soon as you say it, but it wasn't obvious before, which is the sign of talking to an expert, I often find. So that's great to hear. Now, let's talk about... I've got a couple of mundane questions on my list, so I might as well ask them first. I mean, just the sort of more mundane questions that always strike me. Is there a point at which you need to move from, just working at home and hire a physical office? And what about hiring employees in the UK or USA? Is there ever, or wherever you're based, Germany, quite a few people listening in Australia and Canada. Is there ever a point at which, even in the modern world, that is a good point as a sort of basis on which to expand, or do you think that's just old-fashioned now and unnecessary?
I think it depends on who you are and what your outcomes are. I do love the interaction with people, but also if you've got a team and it's based locally, then by all means having a workspace where you can connect, collaborate, and move things forward, then that's obviously very beneficial. But with that, if you've got a domestic office, then that obviously can, it depends on where you're at. But if you've got a team in, say, the UK that all working on your Amazon business, then great. If your business can allow you to do that, then and it's going to give you the rewards, and I would say test it and see how you go. If you're working and leveraging overseas outsourcers in a virtual team, then obviously that's going to be challenging to have a team office unless they're all in the same town, which you can do. I do believe that there is points in which you can, when you have a team and in the same town, for example, then get them together regularly to encourage the the team culture and the team morale for sure. But in terms of your business, it depends on what your outcomes are. If you're really growing, you're really scaling up a brand to a point which you are able to hire domestic staff in an office around your town, then by all means do it, because you are going to be more effective as a team in that environment. But that comes with cost, and you just need to weigh up the pros and cons, and depending on your specific situation.
Great. Okay. Well, that makes sense. And I guess it's a kind of common sense answer, but I like the thing that, what's come out of that for me is that you can have a team that's physically in one place. It just doesn't necessarily need to be in your place. So if you've got a team of people in the Philippines and they work in the same town, that brings me to the next question, I suppose, which is how important is it to have a physical sort of central hub at some point for people? When you talk about creating teams, because I personally, for example, I do a lot of coaching online, and then when I coach people offline, I just feel that there's a hell of a lot more power in it, and it's easier, and we don't have to worry about, for example, we were having a conversation before we started the call, and then touch wood, we haven't had this, but the screen freezes, you can't speak to each other, and I have that issue with my business partner a lot, although he's in the UK, he's about 3 hours drive away. Do you think that's important, or do you think that's just one of those little things that doesn't really have much effect?
I'm a big people person, so I love spending time with our team members. I love to get over to the Philippines as often as I can. I collaborate with my business partner face to face regularly. I believe there's a place for it, but I also believe there's a place for just getting things done and actually executing on what you need to do, but checking in, and you can have a rhythm around it. So our team's in the same town in the Philippines, and what we do each quarter or each month, depending on whether the KPIs have been hit, we'll send them out for a team meal, or providing that they're going to be rewarded for the work that they've done, and we're moving towards where we want to go. We could just do a theme day where we could say, okay, go and have fun at this place, and we'll obviously provide the finances to do that. But having that built into your company really creates that team morale, that team spirit, and it makes them feel they're part of something bigger than themselves, which is important, because when you are a virtual assistant or you're working remotely from your computer, then there's not a lot of face-to-face engagement, which unfortunately is one of the challenges. But again, you can mediate that by having face-to-face calls every time you speak to them, if the connection allows, or having team days, where they go out and they have an amazing time, and they really. My goal is to have people that work for me, they're best friends in work and they're friends out of work as well. So I think I learned a lot about how to create and nurture a business culture, and I love to do that, because again, I feel like I'm at my best when I'm working with people, and I'm a big people person. So.
Yeah, I can really relate to that. In my sort of past life, and I still do a little bit of this, my background is music, and I was actually, first of all, a professional orchestral player as a French horn player, and then I was a conductor. So obviously very, very people, it's all about building teams and culture, and a culture of excellence, and a culture of, it's interesting that you're one of the few people that mentions the word culture in the sort of the name of their business systems, culture impact. And I think whilst that can be a bit pretentious to talk about at the very early stages when people just need to get cash flow before the business dies, I think the bigger it gets, the more important that is, because you almost create a self-managing set of people. I find if you instill a culture of like, you shut up while I'm rehearsing, please, and then you talk in the coffee break, people start going shh, shh when somebody else is talking in a choir that I was conducting, because they got into the idea of like focus matters, and it becomes almost like a self-regulating team. So love what you're saying, and I love also the idea of the away day for the team. And I know that some people, for example, Greg Mercer, he's obviously an Amazon seller, but within his Jungle Scout kind of suite of businesses, that the people I've spoken to privately, you know, really love working with him because he's created this great fun culture, and they do physically meet up even though the people are spread all around the world. So seems to really, really work. So that's all very thought-provoking stuff. Now, tell me a bit more about stuff, the more mechanical side of it. Is there a point at which you should be looking to hire people full-time rather than just a VA who's a specialist for 10 hours a week for this and 20 hours a week for that? And how do you measure that? I mean, I know a degree of common sense has got to come in, but have you got any tips on that?
Sure. So I think it goes back to the conversation we had earlier about, excuse me, how you basically download and rank all of the things that you do in the business. So when you have when you've got if you've got clarity on all the places where you spend your time, and you could again use the tracker which Michael's going to include, so you could use that to take away to do for yourself, but having clarity on where you're spending your time and figuring out, okay, well, you know, my current hourly rate is say $50 an hour, but I'm spending time working on this $10 an hour task, and I'm spending 5 hours a week, then that's going to be, you know, give you an idea of what you need to get rid of. And with that, it gives you an idea of who you need to outsource to and how many hours that person needs to do. So in the case of moving from, hiring a full-time employee, as soon as they become maxed out in terms of what they can successfully deliver, then it's a case, okay, well, I'm going to hire somebody else for this particular role. Or if the thing that you need to outsource is outside of the skill set or doesn't fit the personality type of the person you currently got, then that would be a point of saying, okay, we need to find someone new because I'm spending time on this part of the business. In my case, I'll give you an example, was finances and reports. You know, I don't want to be doing that stuff, to be quite frank. And I knew that I needed to get somebody else in with specialist skills to do that in a way which I know could be delivered week on week, and they can improve that over time without me having to do that myself. So I hope that was clear.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. So yeah, you start to organically see that this person's reached capacity, so you need to build another person to your team, or you're doing tasks still that are not within, as you said, your circle of, I think you use the 4 circles, incompetence or competence, so that you're at that point. And you so outsource it. And as you said, for a lot of us, you included and me included, and most of my entrepreneur friends, that is definitely includes bookkeeping because it's horrible and it's got to be done. So now my next question, by the way, yes, thank you for touching on, before I move on, thank you for touching on the fact that you've got some fantastic downloadable tools for us. So if you want to get those, folks, whenever you're listening to Amazing FBA, if you know the episode number, you can go to the blog and the episode will have show notes. So for example, this is episode 201. Just go to amazingfba.com/201 and you'll get all the show notes for this episode and also any downloadable materials. In this case, there's quite a few things that Aaron is offering. So really do make use of those. They're fantastically constructed, having looked at them myself. Or go to amazingfba.com/Aaron, AARON for November, if you want the lot. So my next question then really is about, you're adding on people, you've got to dial in existing processes. What other processes do you see that the big level sellers, when they're scaling up, need that the sort of mid-level sellers haven't needed so far?
Okay, so for the high end of the Amazon sellers, it's a common trait, and most people that are really killing it on Amazon, they have a really fine-tuned sourcing and launching process dialed in. A lot of people, if they're sourcing from overseas, you know, China, for instance, they would have, you know, the super sellers would be having a agent on the ground. They'd be having a couple of outsourcers underneath that agent to find products. And, you know, in some cases, the people that are doing very well on Amazon. They have, a sourcing office in China where there's a base of people, and they're just constantly sourcing products all day long. But for that to be able to work successfully, you need to have a successful launch system and maintenance system to basically find products, launch products, and grow them and tweak them and ensure that you're not running out of stock and that kind of thing. So that's the main difference. Is they have a much more robust, fine-tuned sourcing part of their business.
Fantastic. That's a nice, clear answer. So, but before you worry about getting a beautifully set up sourcing thing, you've got to get the fine source launch, overall launch system really dialed in first, and then add the sourcing, big bit next, right? Right.
Yeah. So it's about starting slow. That could put off a few people, but when you start slow, smooth is slow, and slow is smooth. Sorry, smooth is fast. So once you've got it dialed in, you know how to launch products, then how do you turn that to the next level? It's all about increasing the amount of products that are coming into the funnel, right? And that starts with dialing in that sourcing part of the system to a degree which you can successfully launch as many products as you can successfully actually get out and launch and maintain in your business. All the products that you launch are not going to be winners, of course. So it's about spinning out test products as fast, and getting results from the actual marketplace in the shortest amount of time to figure out which ones you actually want to keep on and which ones you want to stop. But it's that process which I found people have dialed in the most, who are doing, super, super high numbers on Amazon.
Makes a great deal of sense. I know from talking to someone like Will Chen, and he and his brother were sort of at one point managing, I think, 2,000 SKUs, and Andrew is probably even doing more now. I know Will's left and doing different things, but yeah, they basically source, maybe 100 SKUs from one manufacturer. So yeah, then it comes down to almost sourcing not so much products as sourcing sources or sourcing suppliers, so sourcing one supplier who can supply a ton of good products. So I think we need to sort of draw this to a close, because a lot of people's brains will be blown by this, but equally I think it's really important. It's thought-provoking stuff, really, really important for anyone who's ambitious. My last question really is, it's kind of tying things together. So we talked about the people who are just starting off with one or a few SKUs, people who are trying to scale from a few SKUs to 20, 30, and really make this into a business that can support them and they can really commit to then the super sellers, as you called them. If somebody's starting off in the first or second category, what do you think they need to start off with in their planning in order in 2-3 years time to be ending up being a super seller? What do you think are the two, let's say 3 main things that they need to do that are different from the person who just kind of bumbles along and doesn't go anywhere with their business?
Yeah, it's a great question. So in my personal opinion, I think it's all about having a clear picture on the systems that you need to kind of get you from where you are to where you want to go to. If you think about it as in, you're starting off with one product, and you start to build out the infrastructure. The second product, you do the same, and eventually you're going to have a system for launching successful products on Amazon. So that's the first part. That is going to give you an infrastructure. So when you now start to leverage other people, you can start to launch more products in a way which shows them exactly how to do it. You can, when you start to outsource them products, it starts to free up your time to then start working on the higher value things. In this case, it could be finding more products that you want to launch to really add to value to your brand. So they're the couple of things which I really think are super important, is to basically map out the high level workflow and the systems of your business, and then get people in to do the things which you don't want to do, and frankly low value, so you can start to really crank out products to scale up to $1 million+ a month. So a little thing I want you to think about is, how do you leverage your time more? And if you think about it in a way of, you're working, if you're starting this out, you could be working 40 to 60, 70 hours a week on your new venture. Adding another person in, the right person in, will give you 40 hours a week or 160 hours a month of extra leverage that you didn't have before. So let's say that in a perfect world, you was doing 160 hours a month, so 40 hours a week. you've just doubled your capacity. Initially, they won't be as obviously productive initially because there's a training phase, but once you do that, you do that once, and then you add another person in, you've got 320 hours a month extra that you didn't have, and you do that strategically in a way which enables you to focus on the higher value activities, which enable you to build your infrastructure in your business to then scale up as fast as you can in a way which is not going to break your business if anything does go wrong. So I hope that is clear.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I think, yeah, it's really, I guess a lot of what you're saying comes down to the power of recognizing the leverage and the power of using another person and the importance of using people and using them well. But also what I think you've really drilled down on in a huge amount of detail is just the importance of getting the structures really right. And I like that. What is the thing you say? Slow is smooth, smooth is fast, right? That are things that they say in the Marines. I really think the fact that if you want to go really, really fast and really big, then the time to start being systematic is right now, even from the very, very beginning, right? That seems to be the message I'm getting overall.
Exactly, because there's always going to become a ceiling where you could start off and you have no systems in place, and frankly, that's how I got going. I was just doing all the do, and then come to a point where I hit a ceiling of how much the revenue started to slow or decline and plateau, and I realized it because I was maxed out. I wasn't doing the things which are going to really move the business forward. So that is super important. But if you're thinking about 3 years in the future from when you're first starting out, then it's even more important to get systems in place in a way which provides the least risk for a potential buyer looking in to buy your Amazon company. The more you can create a prototype model, which if you think about it as in what McDonald's done, they created a complete system where they could take this system, which is McDonald's, and place it anywhere in the world, and it would work. It would deliver the product on time, very fast, and it tastes the same no matter where you are. The same analogy can be used for an Amazon business. You're looking to build a business with systems in place which enable you to then duplicate it again if you want. But anybody that is looking to buy your brand or your company in the future can feel safe, and presents them with least risk in taking on, in buying your company, because they've got exactly the infrastructure you use to get to where you want to go. And they can also have everything when they take on your team, or if they hire a new team, there's everything that's laid out for them, and that adds a ton of valuation to your business too.
Brilliant. So thank you. Yeah, just another reason to systematize the value you're adding to the asset as a whole, the business, which has been mentioned by someone like Corin Woodmus, for example, who've had on a couple of times, who's a FBA, the FBAbroker.com. But that's is yet another reason to do what your whole business is about. So Aaron, I think we better wrap it up there, because people need to go and absorb this stuff. As ever, it's not a question of what you hear, it's a question of what you actually do. So I hope that people go away and apply this stuff. As ever, guys, if you want the information from this, just a quick recap, we've done 3 episodes with Aaron: episode 199, episode 200, and episode 201, and they're amazingfba.com/199/200 and /201. And Aaron's produced a bunch of fantastic downloadable material. I really, really urge you to use that stuff. And that's at amazingfba.com/Aaron. And it just remains for me to say a very, very big thank you for coming on the show, Aaron. Fantastic to have you on board. And we'll love to talk to you in a few months to see where the business is at and what new insights you can bring to us.
Thank you so much, Michael. And I'm here anytime. Reach out to me whenever you've got a minute. So thank you so much again, and I look forward to seeing you again.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
All the best. See ya.
Hi, this is Michael Veazey from Amazing FBA. I've got a quick one for you. If you're super stoked and awesomely excited to sell on Amazon, that's great. But if you're American, I'm afraid you need to stop listening, because this one is for the Brits only. I'm not being biased, but this is because I'm talking about something which is based in London. So you're going to need to be in Britain or near Britain to take advantage of it. The basic problem we have as internet entrepreneurs is we are lonely and isolated, because we're tapping, sadly, at our tablets on our own. We're cooped up with our computers, and we're going insane with the internet. We need to connect to other people. It's only a human thing, right? And relationships are the basis of all good business. So If you are in that situation, keep listening, because we have a solution called the Amazing FBA London Mastermind. But I'm going to specifically talk to you if you're in that situation, but you are yet to launch on Amazon. So you want to launch on Amazon, you haven't got there yet. This is exactly for you. It's called the Zero to Hero Pre-Launch Mastermind. And our aim is very simple: to get you from research or importing, or even if you've got products on the way to Amazon, to launch with your first product live on Amazon. That's our goal. That's our focus. How do we achieve that? Very simple. We have a face-to-face meeting of up to 15 people, no more than that. So it's very, very focused. And you get 30 minutes minimum to talk about your business and focus on the single issue that's blocking you that month to move you forward. The other way we keep you accountable is that we have a video accountability call once a month as well, which it goes in between the physical meetups, so that we keep that momentum going, because momentum's everything, guys. As you know, on your own, you just lose the dream and you fall into slowness, and then the business just dies from neglect. So we do the opposite. We keep it moving, we keep each other motivated, we inspire, and we tell the truth about what doesn't work so other people can learn from it. We also have a couple of other things. I give an exclusive newsletter available only to members of the mastermind, where I share the latest tips, techniques and tricks and bigger strategies that I'm trying on my Amazon businesses, and tell you what works and frankly what doesn't work as well, so you can learn from my mistakes. And of course, there's an exclusive Facebook group to share all this good stuff with each other in between the meetings and the accountability calls. So there's a ton on offer here. It's obviously going to be very limited because it's maximum 15 people anyway, but for the first 5 people who come on board, there will be a special deal and a very special price for life. But that's obviously only for the first 5 people who come on board. So if you want to check it out, just go to amazingfba.com/London Mastermind, and you can find out there more about it. You can apply there as well if you want to. And if you move fast, you might even be one of the lucky first 5 people to take advantage of it as well. So that's amazingfba.com/London Mastermind. I'm going to put this video out to everyone on my podcast and everyone in the Facebook group, of which we've got nearly 900 members now, and on the YouTube channel. So I imagine that this will fill quite quickly. So if you're serious about it, get yourself over to amazingfba.com/London Mastermind, and you can find. Thanks for listening.